Well, hi, welcome to the Divorcing Strong podcast this week. My name is Becky Sampson. I'm the host, and we have a very exciting guest today. Denise Kavaliauskas is a divorce doula, which is really interesting because that's what I was going to call myself too. I don't think she knows that, but she's a divorce doula and speaker and international best-selling author. She is a survivor and thriver through narcissistic abuse. Denise is the founder of Life After Narcissism Foundation, a nonprofit resource for victims of emotional abuse that offers support and coaching to women who are ready to divorce and break ties with the narcissist in their life. As a survivor of divorcing a narcissist, Denise uses her real life experience as a way to connect with others and teach, love, and support them in their healing journey. Denise's mission statement is to enhance the lives of survivors of abuse, utilizing the 4 pillars of healing to empower women to heal the trauma and awaken their true potential, thereby creating an extraordinary life after narcissism. And that is absolutely true. You can have that. So I want to go ahead and welcome Denise to the show. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Becky. So happy to be here. Hello, everyone.
Oh, I always love the fact that I get to connect with amazing people around the world. And I always say that most of the people, I would say 95% of the people in this space helping people through divorce are because of what you've been through, and it makes you passionate to wanting to help. So kind of tell us
Yes.
a little story, or what's brought you to this point where you're like, oh, heck yeah, I want to spend my life helping people through this. And especially narcissistic, because it is a real, I've experienced that as well. And it's a real buzzword nowadays, but kind of tell us what got you into this, and really what do you do?
It is a buzzword, and it is overused, and
Mm-hmm.
all those things are 100% true. But I didn't know what narcissism was. I didn't know I was married to a narcissist.
Yep.
Even when my best friend told me years ago, she was like, Denise, don't you think he's a narcissist? And even with her saying that, I went to Google and I did a quiz, and, just say he got 8 out of 10 questions. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, no, he didn't get the full 10, so he's
Yep.
not. Just, bypassed it, ignored it, didn't want to see it and him and the behavior for what it was. So when I finally did have the courage to leave, so my story is our children were grown,
Mm-hmm.
out of high school, and I just wanted to get completely away from him
Mm-hmm.
and the chaos and the trauma and the drama.
How
So
long
I
were you
moved,
married?
huh?
How long were you married?
22 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And 2 children. And so I decided I wanted to move to North Carolina from South Florida. And that's what I did. So I didn't do like a divorce where I filed and all of that initially. Initially, I just
Mm-hmm.
left. I just got
Mm-hmm.
out of Dodge. Then, so here in North Carolina, you have to wait a year and all of that. So, but the real like could have had a VA moment was when I hired my first empowerment coach, and she was talking about narcissism, and
Mm-hmm.
it just clicked in my head. Now, I had been divorced from him. I was on my journey to starting a business, and it was like, whoa, just it all clicked of
Yeah.
that's what I went through. I was in an abusive relationship. He was abusive, all the things, because society has trained and ingrained us, well, back then anyway, that abuse looks one way,
Right.
black eye or bruises, that vision of abuse. So I never visualized or thought I was in an abusive relationship because there were no black eyes, there were no things like that. So
Well,
that's,
let's talk real quickly about that, because I
yes.
do think that a lot of people, I had the same thing. I mean, I did have physical abuse in my first marriage, but the mental abuse that I experienced the second time with what I believe is narcissistic, tendencies,
Mm-hmm.
was, I thought, was more damaging. And so, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
making that connection. And I was watching something the other day, you probably teach this as well, is that if you feel like you're going crazy in a relationship, then you most likely are in a relationship with a narcissist. And so connecting those dots, and that's a process. Your brain, I mean, my husband now is even still trying to connect the dots. Like, how does this make sense? You know, it's really crazy making, but you don't, because you don't have the bruises. I love that you said that, the bruises or the physical marks, you don't think that that's abusive. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. And that's what was for me so confusing and why I didn't put myself in that category. And that when my empowerment coach said that, it all clicked of like that, what I saw was just one version of what an abusive relationship looks like. And there's so many variations of it. There's so many levels to it. But I was stuck in that. I didn't have a black eye. I didn't have any physical anything. So didn't even put myself in that category. So it's very eye-opening.
So really it was a coach that helped you see that, to kind of open up and connect the dots. Yeah. Very important.
Yeah. And then I wrote a chapter in 2016 in a book. The book is called, I was a co-author, Breaking Up with A New Day Dawns, Breaking Up with Abuse. And in that chapter, I was talking about the behavior. And that was another moment where I was like, this is what I am to talk about, is the narcissistic abuse. So that took me on another journey of just solely, you know, after I discovered it, after I was in my healing, to solely focus on narcissistic abuse. And so that's what I've been talking about the entire time since I've been in the coaching world, is the narcissistic abuse. And then in 2022, I rebranded everything to help women and men divorce the narcissist.
Yeah, which is, you know, when I was going through my divorce, this is such an interesting part of my story too, is that I remember my former spouse, his sister came to me and she goes, something's not right with my brother, right? Like, and she goes, I'm not sure exactly what it is. I think he might be on the spectrum. He might be, what was it's not, anyway, on the spectrum somehow. And so I was like, oh, so I started researching all the stuff on, you know, being autistic and things like that. And I was like, oh, and so I even gave him more love and more attention and more patience and more everything. And then I realized at some point after all the studying that I did, I realized that those being on the spectrum and narcissism are very closely related. And the one thing
Didn't know that.
You didn't know that? Oh my gosh. Yes. So I started reading books about Asperger's. That's what it was. Asperger's versus narcissism. And they both struggle with empathy. They both struggle with apologizing, you know, knowing that they think that they're the ones that are right. The difference between the two is that someone who's narcissistic knows exactly what they're doing.
Right.
They know what they're doing versus somebody that's on the spectrum doesn't know. I mean, they don't have any ill intent. And it was that moment where I realized my husband was doing this on purpose to me, and he knew. And then that was the moment. It was like, bam, like in a second, I was like, oh, this is what I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
So like, I know people are going through divorce and they're trying to figure out what you know, and of course we're not therapists and we don't diagnose stuff, but that is an important thing, that with your story and my story, that there are those aha moments where we start connecting those dots.
Yes.
And going, this is what's going really on.
Yes. And the whole rabbit hole that takes us down, right? Like, I remember thinking, oh my gosh, and having, you know, the shame come in and all those things. And really, yes, it's eye-opening, because what do they say? The truth always hurts, right? There's a sting there, but it also sets you free. Yeah. So knowing the truth, I was able to now have a clear path in front of me of like, okay, this is what needs to happen for me. And then it rolled into what I do for other people.
Yeah. And did you find that it came in stages though, for you?
The healing?
Well, just the stages of awareness of what was happening. Like you did have the one, I only, you know, the one moment where you're like, oh, this is one part of it. And then the next part. So it is a process of unfolding, right? And discovering all of the different things and how, so talk a little bit about how important it is to understand those, you know, kind of the abuse that you've been in and to be able to unpackage that.
Yeah. So it's really important to understand. It's one of the first things that I teach my clients and audience is actually even beyond understanding the behavior. So yes, what they've been through, but also if you could understand the behavior. And I even say understand, to really understand what you went through and what happened, so that you can move through the healing process easier and smoothly, versus you know, like the constant shame and blaming ourselves and the guilt that we feel, so that you can get through those parts as smooth as possible. So that's the first part, is to understand their behavior, the narcissist behavior, how they're showing up, and how you showed up, how I showed up, how we're showing up. Because really all it boils down to is a narcissist, and I'll just say victim for the sake of the conversation, are both in the same level of consciousness, which is the abuser victim consciousness. So I explain to my clients is that when you realize, oh crap, okay, this is where I'm at, and you want to get out of that victim abuser consciousness, because as long as you're matching that consciousness, the game is going to continue, because you're unconsciously playing this game with this person. When you realize it and you get out of that level of consciousness and you're in the higher levels of consciousness, A, you're no longer energetically a match to that person. And B, you're in a different state of being, in a state of, you know, energy and mind. And then you can look at it for what it really is. And there really is no shame. There really is no blame.
How important do you think during the process, especially when you work with people, for them to recognize their part in what attracted that narcissist to them?
Oh, Becky, such a great question. Because so going back to the story when my coach like brought the light to me, prior to that, and in that whole conversation I was blaming him. I was like, you're the one who cheated. You're the one who did drugs. You're the one who X, Y, Z. I didn't do any of that stuff. So I was pointing all the fingers at him. And I was like, and so what she said to me was, I'll paraphrase it, but basically she said to me, like, what contribution did you bring to the relation? Were you in the relationship? And I was offended at first. I was like, what do you mean? Because I didn't do any of those things that I just mentioned. So that's such a great point, is where am I in this relationship? So for me personally, after I went through that, I discovered I was a huge enabler. I enabled his behavior. I let it go. I made excuses. I lied for him. When he went off on a crazy storytelling, I went along with it. So enabling is a big one. And not realizing like what you're actually doing when we're enabling, right? And his drug addiction, like all of it, I was enabling it. And then once I could see like my part in the relationship, now it had me separate myself from the relationship and go, okay, here's where I'm going to take responsibility for my parts. One of the books that I have everybody read is The Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz. Yes, it's a Bible for relationships. And he says in that book, you're only responsible for your half of the relationship. You're never responsible for the other person's, whether it's a good or bad relationship. So that right there was like a quantum jump for me to see myself separate from him, separate from the relationship, and to own my stuff. Because if we go around and just blame, then we're still a victim of our circumstances.
Well, and we're playing the same game they're playing, right? I mean, it's being in the victim mentality. And I always say to people, if you think that you're in a relationship with a narcissist, even during the divorce, the more you understand how they think, which is not normal, right? The more you understand the behaviors and why they do what they do, the less you're going to make it about yourself.
Right.
And that was a really big moment for me too, is for me to do research and listen to books about, okay, what attracted them to me so that I can not do that again and hold a stronger boundary, because I'm a pleaser. You know, I was a people pleaser. So I'm like, oh, this is what you want in a wife. I'm going to be this person. And the next thing I know, I'm like ready to shoot myself because I lost everything that I thought I ever was.
Yep.
And that's exactly the game that's played. So it's the same thing with
Yes.
the legal system too, with the divorce, right?
Mhm.
If you don't understand the games or the rules of the game, you're going to lose every time.
Yes.
So it's so important to get people like you that help educate you about what the narcissist, what are you experiencing and why are you experiencing it? And how can you stop the abuse to you and stop enabling it?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. It's like seeing all the players in their part, in their roles, in their character roles in the game.
Yep.
And then once you can see it like that, and then you can approach it as what it is, right? Because the narcissists are brilliant in their character and in their
Well, that's how they've gotten
role.
into it. That's their mechanism
Yeah.
for functioning,
Yes.
and it's just, I didn't know. What's interesting, this might be an interesting thing for you too, is my first husband, I speak very openly about this, but I was abusive to him, emotionally, verbally more, and then he was physically abusive to me. So it just wasn't a healthy relationship. So I swore the second time I'd get married, I'm like, okay, I'm going to appreciate this guy. I wrote a book about the 4 things that men are looking for in women, and so I swore I would just be so appreciative of him. Oh, you're so great at this and you're so great at that and everything. And I had no idea that I was fueling the fire of the narcissist. I
Yeah.
had no clue that I had gone the other direction. Oh, you're a wonderful father, and just because I wanted to bow him up, and that's one of the things that attracted him to me so quickly and just bonded to me, because he had never had anybody do that to him. So when I realized, I'm like, oh my gosh, because I was like you, I didn't know what I didn't know, and I
Exactly.
just thought I was doing the healthy things, but I was with an unhealthy man. And it got me in massive trouble. So
Yeah.
understanding the narcissist and understanding why we're in that relationship and what part we play is huge. And then
Huge.
also unraveling that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And to what you were just saying, like, I think it's safe to say that we all are toxic in these toxic relationships. I know from myself, same. I was abusive too. Now, some people may want to call it reactive abuse or whatever, but here's the thing. We're just two abused, wounded people coming together in a relationship. Both parties, both people have experienced abuse from the past, and we're showing up in that way. One shows up like the narcissist shows up in their way, and we show up in our way. But it's that called toxic relationships for a reason. It's very toxic.
Right. Did you find yourself during that divorce? I mean, once she made that awareness to you, like, oh my gosh, she might be in that. Were you the type of person that just went and studied and studied and studied to try to connect those dots, or
Research. Yeah.
research?
I did research. Intense, deep research. And I still do research. And that's why, like, we all have the trolls on TikTok or, social media that say, for me, it used to be a big trigger. Are you a therapist? Are you a lawyer? When they ask me those questions. And yes, I'm certified. No, I'm not licensed as a therapist or a lawyer. And I have 12 years of this deep research because, number one, I went through it, my children went through it, and I needed to completely unravel it and understand it so that for me, myself first, but also to be able to teach it in a way that my clients get results.
Right.
Because that's why we're doing this, right? We're not doing this for shits and giggles. We're doing this because we want our clients to have the outcome, the results.
Yeah. So typically, what are the type of people that you work with, though? I mean, are they aware of what's going on, or do you help them unpackage that? Like your therapist helped you do that?
It's a mixture. I get clients who are thinking about divorce, and they come to me. But the majority of the women and men, I do coach men, is they're in it. They've been in it, the divorce, and it's a freaking nightmare. And I describe it as that, like a nightmare divorce. They're in the middle of a nightmare divorce, and they're at that desperation stage where they're like, I've got to do something different because everything I've been doing hasn't been working. In fact, it's gotten worse and worse. So I'm going to take a different route. I'm going to take a different approach and get on a call with Denise and see what happens.
Yeah. And what is the probably the most impactful information that you can give people, or when they work with you, that makes the biggest change for them to make that shift, to have a different result?
Is explaining the levels of consciousness. And that, and this is, and exactly what I was just sharing with you before, I tell them, right now you're functioning and you're operating, no shame, no blame. This is just what it is. And then once you have this awareness, you can get out of it. But what's happening is the whole reason that all of this is happening is because your consciousness is matching the narcissist consciousness. And so it doesn't take years. It doesn't take, hundreds of thousands of dollars for you to learn how to pop out of that consciousness so that you're no longer matching. So that's the biggest awareness that I give to them, that they can see okay, so I'm not broken, I'm not damaged, there's nothing wrong with me. There's a shift in the consciousness in me that needs to happen so that I can get through this process easily and smoothly and never go through this again.
Yep.
Never experience this.
That's an important thing, because once you recognize it, then you have the choice whether you change the behavior or the energy that you have with it or not.
Right.
And I know that was a big thing that worked for me. I mean, obviously I was getting my degree in conflict resolution, mediation, and peace building while I was going through my high conflict divorce.
Wow.
But it really kept me in a good space where even if I was in high conflict or wanted to go into that emotional, that energy level, that I just knew that if I did, he'd win, right? I didn't want him to have that kind of power over me. So talk a little bit about that, because it's how do they manage those emotions that come up, that want to go to victimhood, that want to go to he's the, or she is the evil one of the world. We're keeping a good, healthy emotional boundary in self-care with that person that you're in conflict with or you're divorcing. Why is that so important?
Yeah. So how I share it with them is that so along with what I was sharing about the consciousness, I tell them that there's an identity that you have in that victim abuser consciousness. You are, and you show up as this person. And so in order for you to experience a different experience or a different outcome, you have to shift that identity. So who are you now, who's already divorced, who got everything that she or he was asking for, who is celebrating the divorce? Who are you in the future? So then we call that the future self. So future self Becky or future self Denise. And then that is where your focus is, because when you look at the two identities and you go over here to the victim abuser, that feels heavy, that feels shitty, that feels dark. It just is exhausting and all of those. When you shift it and you look over here and even plan out, what is your celebration? What are you doing? And how you feel over here, it's lighter, it's uplifting, it's a whole different dynamic and a whole different energy. So whenever there's, yes, it's a moment by moment choice. And whenever the shit hits the fan, or you get a text, or your serve papers or whatever, to have these tools in your toolbox so that you can move through that as easily and smoothly as possible and shift your thinking, your energy over to where you want to be. Because I tell my clients, every single thing in your physical reality, i.e. like a pen, started out as a thought.
Yep.
So before the thing was made, somebody thought of it, had this great idea. And so the more that you are focusing on your future and who you are as the divorced person living an amazing life, the more you focus on that. And that's what I did for myself. When I was living in South Florida, we have mainly palm trees down there, right? And I was like, I'm moving to North Carolina. I'm going to have a great life in North Carolina. I would visualize, I would see the trees of North Carolina trees, like oak trees or pine trees versus palm trees. So I'd put myself in North Carolina, even though I was on a South Florida highway. So it's that constant shift. And Gary Vee talks about it, how he says, why are you more focused on your past than you are your future?
That is so, Denise, that was so important. I think when people are going through, if you can't see the future, then you'll never get out of the past.
Right.
And
You'll
in
keep
it,
recreating it.
I love that you
Mm-hmm.
take people through that process and being able to, okay, what do you want to create? What do you see? What do you visualize? What do you want to feel? Live in that space of like there. And that's the thing. I always say to people that divorce is a temporary state, even though it feels like, oh my gosh, when's it ever going to end? And what does the future look like? But, and if you would have ever told me that I would marry again, like, I don't know, are you married again?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Most of us didn't ever think that we'd get married again, and we are, and that's what's beautiful. There's this beautiful life on the other side,
Yes.
and I like that you help them focus on that so that they see the most important things moving forward.
Yes.
Moving forward, because
Yes.
people get so stuck.
Yeah.
So what do you find in the practice that you do and the work that you do? What is the most rewarding thing?
Is when my clients Voxer, Telegram, email me jaw-dropping divorce results. Like like the mediator was speechless. I was speechless. This is a testimony for one of my clients who was divorcing in a small town, and her ex-husband had hired the Bulldog attorney in the town, and everybody was, against her because he had his family, she was in his state. And for that text message or email coming through saying, I won, I got everything I was asking for, and thank you so much. That is just like joy, 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 joy. Such joy.
And this kind of goes along with the same question, right? Is also some people going through divorce think, oh, I don't need a coach. I don't need, actually most people have no idea what they need, right? They
Right.
don't know what they don't know.
Right.
But I know the answer to this one for me, but for you, like what's the advantage of having a coach and somebody, like I call them a lifeline, like basically that's what you are, is you're a lifeline for them. What's the greatest advantage other than they get what they want or close to what they want? But what other benefits do they have in having a coach along the way, the process?
So for me and my clients is feeling like you're winning when you're in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, the end result and the jaw-dropping results, that's amazing and fantastic. It's also like the cherry on top. But as you're going through this, feeling like I'm in power, I'm in control, I'm calm, I'm confident, and feeling like I had a client, private client, and she was like, I feel she's in it, right? It hasn't been discussed or disclosed, the divorce, but she feels like I'm winning, my kids are winning, I'm winning with my kids because that emotional support. And Becky, divorces are freaking highly emotional.
They are.
I'm not even talking about high conflict ones, just a divorce in general.
Yep.
Just hey, I'm different, you're different, let's amicably get divorced, because it comes back to that identity. So who am I now that I'm divorced? Who am I? So divorces are highly emotional. And to me, I feel like this is the missing piece out of all the divorces. And why isn't divorce coaching in this way widespread? Why isn't it like the actual first divorce move that you make before you hire the attorney?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think the same thing too, is that people, if they had first of all, we're way less expensive than an attorney, right? Secondly, we've been through it before where, and attorneys don't have the time nor the resources. And
it's not their zone of genius, the emotional
it's,
part.
It's not. I was telling you before the show started that I connected with a gal. That's all she does is work with the attorneys, clients, and she'll show up to all of the mediations, all of the court cases, the hearing. I can't imagine like having somebody to do that, because I had 21 hearings. And when you're divorcing an attorney, when you're divorcing a narcissist or someone that has those kind of behaviors, they'll fight.
Absolutely.
It's all about the fight, and it takes a lot of tenacity to be able to stick in it and not fall to pieces.
Yeah.
And that I had a certain, I don't know how much you spend also on self-care, but I tell people like, you need to have self-care. And one of them is having a coach that you can call that understands the process, that understands the legality, understands the emotional turmoil. Because many times our family members, especially if they've never been through it,
Yeah.
it is very difficult for them to give you the right advice to keep you calm and collected. Because sometimes you get unhealthy people that are like, oh, you should.
Yep.
Like, okay,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Not going to help you. And obviously it brings them down into that energy that's definitely not going to get them what they want in the end. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because those people are coming from their level of consciousness. And yes, it's with love, but also it's with no experience, and it's from their perspective of how they would do things. Well, they're not in your situation right now. So how do they know where they would come from unless they've walked in your shoes? So having somebody who has walked in your shoes, who has been down that path and is on the other side of that path and now is able to help people in that path is where the prize, the genius, the uplifting and the like layering, releasing those layers comes from. Yeah. Families they mean well, but they're not professionals. They're just not.
And the thing is that when you can get into a community of people that understand you and that say, look, you're not crazy, because that's, I mean, I remember the first time I went to Hawaii and I was just barely married and I was going, there's something wrong with me. Like something is not right. I must be psychotic. And really that was the first sign. If anyone would have told me, that's one of the first signs of like going, okay, something's not right in this relationship, that I feel like I'm losing who I am.
Yeah.
And it's so different now in this marriage that I'm in. And it's so wonderful to be respected, to be loved, to be appreciated. And those kind of things those relationships are out there for you.
Absolutely.
However, when you're coming out of that, it's important to do this healing work and to understand how powerful you are.
Yes.
Because that's one thing I've noticed is people who marry people who have narcissistic behaviors are amazingly caring and loving and supportive and loyal. Those are the things that they kind of look for.
Absolutely.
So if you're listening and you're somebody, one of those, I know that you are an amazing person. It's just stepping into that light and knowing who you are and requiring people to, well, I shouldn't say require because we can't make anybody do anything, but requiring of yourself to stand in that light.
Yes.
We attract light. Right?
Yes, that's exactly what it is. Everything I tell, it's all about you. This divorce, it looks like it's about the other person, or it looks like it's the attorney you hired, or it looks like that whole thing. It's not. It's about you. It's about it's a rebirthing of yourself.
Absolutely is.
And
that's why the doula.
Yes.
You probably didn't know that, but a friend of mine, when I first started in this industry, she's like, Becky, you're a doula. That's basically what you are. And then you're probably the one that I found somewhere that is that, which is perfect. A doula is somebody that takes you through the process of that rebirthing of your life and then lets you fly. Right?
Yes.
That's I love that you're doing this, and you really focus a lot on energy. And managing your energy. People talk about emotions, but you really focus on energy. And what you put out is what you're going to get back. And as you raise your level of energy, you're going to get a better result. And that's really
absolutely.
It seems to me that that's exactly what you focus on, what you do
with
people.
It is.
Awesome.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for joining today. Where do people find you? How do they work with you? That sort of thing. And I don't know if you have a freebie. Did you have a freebie or not?
Sure, I have a freebie. The easiest way to get in touch with me is yourdivorcedoula.co is my website. And my freebie is the 7 power moves every woman and man or man needs to win at divorcing a narcissist. So it's a free download. They also get a red flag cheat sheet. They just put their email in and they'll get it instantly.
Awesome. And because this is video, all that information will be down at the very bottom. You can just click on there and go check out Denise, connect with her. This is the thing is that don't try to do it alone. That's the biggest. If I were to have anybody at this point come to me back then and just say, look, you need a support, a tribe.
Yeah.
And Denise, you're an amazing attribute for people and an advocate for these people going through divorce. And I appreciate everything that you do and the efforts.
Thank you. Thank you, Becky.
So thanks everybody for joining us today at the Divorcing Strong. Again, my name is Becky Sampson, and I have been the host. And make sure to join us and on our future episodes. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.